Okay, hey guys, I can see we already have a whole bunch of our teams here in our chat. I just want to say, my name's Abby. I'm your league manager for this season, and this meeting is basically to kind of walk through some of the rules and procedures of the leagues, and I'll try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll kind of go through them at the end, try to address all of them there. But until then, we're going to be running through this lovely PowerPoint that I made for all of you, including some great league emotes. So we're going to start in just a second. This stream will be VODed, so if any of you need to leave early, or if you need to send it to, any of your players, or, whatever the case may be, you'll be able to tune back and check it out. The PowerPoint, it could be shared later if that's something that you guys would see useful, but the stream will be VODed, like I said. So, yeah, first thing, I just want to welcome everybody to our, all of our new teams here. I see a lot of our, Texas schools, Oklahoma schools, Missouri. So welcome everybody who's new, and welcome back to all of our veterans. We're excited to have all of these new states represented, and I'm very excited to see all of these familiar faces. And so I can't wait to talk to you guys about the things that I've been working on in the off season. So the second thing, that I'd like to ask you guys to do, I'm sure that most of you are already in the Discord, because otherwise, how would you have heard about the meeting? But if you're not, we can get you a Discord link if anybody needs that. And I want to make sure that, everybody has the right roles, because it is possible to be in our Discord without seeing all of the information. So if you navigate to our bot commands page, you can pick one of your roles and make sure that you have at least a state role available to be able to see all of our reschedule reporting, substitute reporting, forfeiting reporting, things like that. If you're a captain, you can also give yourself the captain role. And we really kind of rely on this role to be able to get in contact with all of you, whether it's, I need to ask you about who you're going to be sending to the in-person finals, just general coordinating. It's very important that you guys can be notified and that I can find you as easy as possible. So if you can also give yourself that captain role, that would be awesome. And the other thing that would be extremely useful is if you guys can denote what school you're from by using that bracketing system exampled at the bottom there. So GGL would be like my school name. So if you're from, SMU, you put SMU in there. You're from SLU, you put SLU in there, etc. It just makes it easier for everybody to try to find, who you're getting in contact with. And yeah, that's kind of the things about Discord. So lastly, I'd like you guys to kind of navigate to our captain's channel in the meeting. I see a lot of you guys are already, posting in there, telling me who's here, but we just want to make sure that we, can see who's here, give you guys a shout out, all that kind of stuff. So if you get the chance and you haven't already, please go to that captain's meeting channel in the Discord and, denote either what school you're from or what team you're from if you're not affiliated with the school. And if you have more than one team at your school, that's obviously useful to say, Redbird Academy or whatever team you are. All right. So now we can get into some specifics about the season. So our format for the season, it's roughly 10 weeks long. Most of them are online. We have 7 regular season games. They're all best of 1 in tournament draft, except for Michigan Division A, which I'll be talking about in a little bit. So the regular season is 7 weeks long, where we hope to give you guys a bye week for spring break, It's going to be a little bit different depending on what state you are, because we do have a couple of restrictions based on finals dates, which will be going up soon, but we're still kind of working out all of that, the specifics behind those things. But we do hope to give you guys an off week. Basically, we tried to look at all of our schools and get the best estimate of when you guys have your breaks and kind of pick the average break week. No one has the same break, unfortunately, or rather, not everyone has the same break, so we're going to do our best to kind of give you that happy medium. New to this season, people have been asking for it for a while. We are giving you best of threes in the playoffs, including quarters and semis, not just the finals. So you'll be playing best of threes for, like I said, quarter, semis, finals. And this might mean that more games are being played during online instead of at the in-person events. It's something that we're going to kind of work on, but this is what you guys have been asking for, so we wanted to deliver that. So it's going to be a blast, and we're going to send out a little bit more information later. But a little bit more about those LAN finals. I know we have a lot of returning faces here, so a lot of you guys might already have details on this, but the finals are, our big in-person events. We have pizza, drinks, raffles. We have some pretty cool trophies that, weirdly enough, have been growing in size as we've been getting more players. They started out pretty handheld, and now they're getting big, and so we're excited to give you guys those trophies for our winners. And like I said, it's a great time. We're been trying to develop more things for you guys to do in the during while other teams are playing their games. So more details about that will be released throughout the season. So I hope at this point that you guys know that your games start next week. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Games do start next week. Different teams, different divisions plan different days, and I'll go into that a little bit more as time goes on. But I hope everyone's ready to get their game on. And schedules are going to be developed later this week. They will be out before next week. And I want you guys to be able to, see who you guys will be playing against, and to be able to vote for the stream polls to get to see who's going to be streamed next week. So make sure you follow the Twitch if you don't already, because you might be the one that's going to be playing next week. We'll have to see. I see you guys talk about the Zillion. I was pretty proud of that GIF, so I included it. Can't kill in the Zillion, But yeah, so a little bit more about those streams. We send out a poll every week it lists all of the games that will be played that week, and you guys can vote on what matchups you want to see. And we're going to be streaming even more games this year than we have before. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to have your moment of glory on stream. So like I said, make sure you are following the stream to be able to get more information on that. So the next thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the point system. So we did release information on the point system last week, and I did mention today in my announcement that there will be a little bit of change based on evaluations that we've made since then. So one of the things that I was doing was kind of checking all of the teams to make sure that they were in the right placement. And based off of those initial calculations, we figured out that there might be a little bit of adjustment that we need to make for this season. But I'll be talking about that a little bit more in my next slide. So the first thing that you guys kind of need to know about this season is that we are capping roster sizes at 10 players. So this doesn't include coaches or coordinators. If you have your coach or maybe your club officers or whatever on the team, that's totally fine. but I might end up contacting teams individually and asking, the situation there, just to make sure that, we're not accounting players who won't actually be playing. So let's see. The whole announcements about the point system can be found in the announcements. There's a whole document that kind of explains this a little bit more in detail, but we're just going to kind of brush over some of the main points. So we used the season 9 rankings. That wherever you ended season 9, that was where we decided to pull ranks from. This was because we wanted to make sure that it was as accurate as possible, and with the season reset, we figured a lot of people would be under ranked. Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure what happened. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, guys. My cat just ran by me and pretty sure that she ripped out my cable, so sorry about that. I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, so last thing you guys heard, what was name of the cat? Willow. Her name is Willow. There is a picture of her in the pet pics, I think. I'm not sure what you guys heard last. Report cat. Okay, awesome. Under ranked. Ranked. Okay, cool. New season, halfway through the slide. Okay, great. So essentially, new season with ranked. Okay, I'm just gonna try to start kind of from we assign the point values, and hopefully there won't be too much overlap. Basically, when calculating the team's total, because we have now capped roster sizes at 10, we're going to take the 5 highest ranked players on the team, add them together, and the sum of those top 5 players will be the value for your team, basically. It's not an average. We're not averaging your numbers. It's the sum. So we're including both starting and substitute players in this calculation, mostly because our website is not super great at telling me like, oh, this player is my ADC starter, this player is my substitute starter. So unfortunately, we have to kind of combine both of them. And between me and the Twitch chat here, our new website should be out just after the start of the season. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Hopefully it'll clear up some of these issues, but I don't have an exact date on that. Yeah, so then in order to be eligible for a particular division, the sum of your team's points cannot exceed the point cap for that division. But, kind of what I was mentioning, this will change a little bit based on those, that buffer zone. So for this season only, we want to give you guys that 15% buffer zone for every team in the division. This is meant to help teams that are not able to move their game days or cannot switch around rosters, because we release the information so last minute, and we do totally take full responsibility for that. It took longer to develop than we thought it would, and internal reviews, we just wanted to make sure that it was as clean as possible. So we do apologize for not getting that out sooner, and this is kind of our compromise for that. It's also because we're implementing it for the first time this season, and so we want to make sure that, we're easing you into it instead of completely just, throwing you in there without any experience with it. So this is not a way to have people move down divisions. Basically, if you have decided for yourselves, oh, we want to be in Division A, this is where we want to play, we want this type of competition, we're not going to intentionally move you down. This is just to give buffer for those teams who can't change their, rosters or cannot reschedule their games last minute. So we've also decided to move the point cap for Division D to 800 points. And this was because we had no data on the division when we created the cap for it. We have never run a Division D before. And so our initial calculations were not right. And so we saw that after evaluating all of our current teams. And so we just wanted to adjust it a little bit. So I don't know about you guys. I'm more of a visual learner. So let's, kind of see what those buffers will look like. Essentially, you've probably seen this before if you have looked at that document that I linked in the announcements. Division A has no skill cap because that's kind of the intention of it. It's supposed to be for our most competitive players for, any ranking diamond, or it's a Diamond 1 average league, but you can be as high as you want, so there's no cap there. For Division B, our initial cap was 4,000 points, but we want to give you that extra 15% leeway, and so that means you can have an extra 600 points. Division C, 1,600 points, extra 240. So this kind of makes sense. Also, with that Division D switch to 800 points, you can still have that 15% leeway, which would be an extra 120 points. You guys, you can kind of see what that looks like there. All right. So I just want to reiterate there, though, that this is just for this season. We want to be more strict moving forward. Next season, we are probably going to make this, hard caps, as I had discussed with some of our captains. So that's moving forward, that's how that's going to be. So now that you kind of know how you've been placed, let's talk about some of the important information for each division. And this is probably, at least I hope, things that you guys have seen before. We released this in our starter kits, and so this is just the breakdown of the divisions. So games are at a set time and day each week, where Division A games are played on Thursday nights, starting February 13th, so next Thursday. Division B games are played on Wednesday nights, starting February 12th. And Division C and D games, they will be played at the same day and same time, will be played on Tuesday nights, and those start February 11th. I also see here that I didn't change the point cap for Division D. Rough. It's 800 now, as I said. Embarrassing myself right there. But it is 800 now, and so that's kind of how that's going to work. All games are at 9 p.m. local time, with the exception of Michigan A, which we'll talk about here on the next slide. So we are doing 2 pilot seasons this year, as I've kind of talked about. We're doing the Michigan Division A, which is a best of 3 every week, including playoffs and finals. And that will be at 7 p.m. ET, local time for you guys, but just to be clear, 7 p.m. ET. And then for the Illinois Division D, which is the only state that we're doing it in. So Michigan A is the only one we're doing the best of 3s every week. And Illinois is the only state that we're doing Division D. That's just for this season. These are pilots. Moving forward, we're hoping to, develop these, see if this is a want that teams, or a thing that teams want. And, so keep a lookout in the future to see if we develop these further. And, I don't know if I mentioned Division D, Tuesdays at 9. All right, Central Time. So now that we've talked about some of the basics of the league, if you guys are familiar with our awesome marketing intern, he made the dev blog for us. I believe his name is Air Scott on Discord now. He used to be Six Riffin, if you guys know him. He made this awesome game day experience video, and so we're going to watch that now, and we'll come back to it, and we'll talk about it a little bit.
You can find details about your team in the Dashboard tab. There, you can see your upcoming matches, standings, and match history. You can view the schedule for a league by clicking on the league and clicking on the Schedule tab. Clicking on a game in the schedule will show more details about the game and where you can find the tournament code for that game. Copy and paste the code into the LOL client to join your game. Not sure what side you should be on? Refer back to the schedule to find out. Teams on the left side should be on the blue side, and teams on the right side should be on the red side. Since GG Leagues uses tournament codes, there is no need to send us post-game screenshots or report anything. Soon after a game is played using the tournament code, the results, standings, and stats are all automatically reported and updated on our website. If you need to reschedule your game, be sure to post in our rescheduling reporting channel in the appropriate state. If your team will be making a substitution, be sure to post in our substitute reporting channel in the appropriate state. If a team requests to use Pro Draft, it must be used. If a team is not fully present in a game lobby within 15 minutes of the scheduled game time, that team must forfeit. Be sure to post the forfeit in our forfeit reporting channel in the appropriate state. Remember, anything that could be considered BM is BM. If you are not feeling comfortable with the behavior of the opposing team, tell them to stop. If you continue to have any issues in or out of game, please utilize our help channel in our Discord, where our friendly league managers will be happy to assist you. Please try to take screenshots of any potential issues so that we can help you in the best way possible. We hope that this has helped your game day experience. Good luck and have fun.
All right. Awesome. So if my stream is caught up correctly, you guys should be done watching the video now. So let's talk about a couple of points there. So the most important one, obviously, that we've talked about multiple times, GG Leagues' slogan, good gamers, better people. So there is zero toxicity tolerated in our league. We're a fun, community-focused league, and we have very strict rules about cyberbullying, griefing, smurfing, etc. So let me clarify. We do allow the use of emotes in our games, but if the other team asks you to stop, please be respectful and do so. When in doubt, the good old saying, treat others as you wish to be treated, always applies. So another thing that Griffin mentioned in the video is that we, the league admins and managers, are here to help and make sure that you have a great experience. So if you have any issues, please reach out to one of us for help. And the best way to contact us during games is in the help channel on Discord, or on game nights, I'll always be logged into my GGL Abby account, so you can message me there if you're in game. But yeah, like I said, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any issues. Make sure you add me when you see me in your lobby so you can get in contact with me easier. Let's see. So the next thing that we can talk about a little bit is the website and game day experience in general. So like Griffin said, schedules can be found on the website, but we also send out scouting emails each week with information about the players you'll be playing against. As long as you designate your starters for each week, you should be able to get the scouting email, and it should be accurate, including summoner names, what side you're on, and your tournament code. And so red side and blue side are designated before the season. We use a random bracket generator. So please pay attention to which side you are on and make sure that that's what you're in when you get into the lobby. And GG Leagues also utilizes tournament codes to record game stats, and those get updated overnight, so you should be able to see them the day after the game is played. Something to note about the tournament codes, which is an issue that we have a lot. If something's not working, if you're getting an error code when you're trying to join a lobby, make sure that you don't have a space at the end of the code when you copy and paste it. It's something that happens a lot, so I'm just going to tell you guys now, hopefully save you some panic of not being able to get into your lobby. So with the tournament codes, you don't need to, send us screenshots, report scores, anything like that. It will all show up automatically online. All right. So during the off season, we updated the rulebook quite a bit. It was just posted today. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, go ahead and do so. If you're wondering what changes we made, you can see them kind of listed out here with the respective sections in the rulebook that they pertain to. But there are a few things we want to discuss from this list, mainly Pro Draft. So Pro Draft is now mandatory if a team asks for it. We wanted to make sure that each team has the best chance possible to take home those W's. And during my interviews in the off-season, lack of champions was an issue that many people had concerns about, especially in some of our lower divisions where maybe you're newer players. And yeah, it's possible you have all of the top lane champions, but if you're picking for, your ADC or something, that can become an issue. So we outlined some of the important info about the way Pro Draft works in another tutorial video, as well as in our rulebook. That video is currently uploaded on our YouTube, but we'll be creating a channel in the Discord that can contain all of those video resources. So we'll link the VOD to this stream in there. We'll link the Pro Draft video, the game day experience video, those types of things. But one other thing with this is that we are not making LCS order mandatory. On our new website, there should be a way better way of designating who is your in each position, so you should have no issues there. And like I said, that should be launching, hopefully all things, go well, shortly after the season starts. So you should have, ample ample information on the teams that you're going to be facing. And if you have any concerns about how the program works, please check out the resources that we'll be posting or ask some of the admins for help. We can definitely help you guys out there. Okay. So now for some of the common rules that you guys might encounter on your game day. Let's see. So reschedule reporting is the first thing. These next couple of slides are going to be pretty wordy, but I promise when I explain them, they won't be as bad as they look. So if a team agrees to reschedule 24 hours in advance, you can post it in the reschedule reporting channel. You are allowed to reschedule to a different day as long as it's 24 hours in advance. And both teams have to agree to the reschedule by reporting it in the reschedule reporting and then agreeing to it, which we just can use the reaction function on Discord to be an agreement. Give a thumbs up, a smiley face, whatever. Just an acknowledgement that both teams are in agreement that this is the day that you're changing it to. A new addition to the rule book, though, pertaining to this, is that games rescheduled to a different day must be played by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. local time, the week that they were originally scheduled for. So, for example, if you are trying to reschedule your week 3 game, that usually is played 9 p.m. Thursday, you must complete the rescheduled game before Sunday night of week 3. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please let me know and I'll try to clarify it a little bit better. And if it is the day of the game, players can only reschedule the game to a different time. So if it's, your game is supposed to be played Thursday night, 9 p.m., it's Thursday morning, you realize, oh, I have a paper due at 9. Hey, other team, can we reschedule? You can only reschedule to like 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever it is, different time in that day. You still have to, both teams still have to report it and agree to it in the reschedule reporting. And then the next rule is about substitute players. So we ask the teams have their starters designated 72 hours before their game time. And you can do this by going to your team page on the website and clicking on the roster. From there, you can designate whether they're a reserve player or a starting player. And the big reason for this is that those scouting emails that I mentioned, I'll be honest, guys, I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry my headset keeps going out. Can you hear me? Report headset. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so those scouting emails are based off of who is listed as your starter. So we want those to be as accurate as possible every week. We understand that last minute substitutions happen, but if you can keep those as up to date as possible, that would be great. Headset is broken, probably. All right. So continuing with those last minute subs, if you need a last minute sub, they can only be 2 tiers higher than the player they're replacing, and new, cannot push your team over the point limit for your division. So for example, if you're replacing a gold 4 player, the sub can be no higher than gold 2. And if it's between divisions, like if it's a gold 2 player, you can sub as high as plat 4. That's allowed. You can sub between the divisions as long as you're still under that point cap for your team. For the playoffs, the rules are the same there regarding the 2 tiers higher and the point limit, except that subs must have also been registered on your roster since the beginning of the season or have subbed once during the regular season. So I'm going to reiterate that. It's important. We've had a couple of issues. The sub in the playoffs must have been registered since the beginning of the season or have subbed once during the regular season. If that's confusing at all, please let me know and I'll try to address it a little bit more. And if you have any disputes there, please report them before you play the game. We won't be retroactively enforcing rules pertaining to ineligible players, and we take it that if you play the game out, the results will be final. And if you have any issues, please let an admin know. Like I said, through the help channel in Discord, you can message us on League, whatever, you have available at the time. All right, so next part is the grace period and forfeits. So teams have up to 15 minutes grace period in the lobby to have their full team there and present after the start of the match. That accounts for, if you have to update your computer, if your cat runs by your computer and messes with your microphone, whatever the case is, that 15 minutes is there to kind of help you make sure that everything is working. I lost my place. I'm sorry, I made my own joke and I lost my place. Okay. Please make sure that your computers and clients are all up to date, because we don't want the issue of, your clients updating, you haven't played in months, and so you have to sit there for 15 minutes while it patches. Please just make sure everything's up to date before the game starts. And then after that 15 minutes, if there's still a team that's not completely in the lobby, the late team will be given a forfeit, and the team that's fully in the lobby will take the win for that week. If you guys still want to play the game, that's totally fine. That's an option, but just be aware that whatever the ruling is, that will remain no matter the results of the match. And if you need to report a forfeit, please do so in your forfeit channel in your respective state. And then finally, so players are allowed to be promoted mid-season. We don't want to discourage you guys from, ranking up, from getting better. We do hope, in the case that if you're playing with your, coordinated team, you will be kind of sharing these moments of growth and, skill improvement and things like that. So we never want to discourage you from being able to play ranked. So you are allowed to rank up during the season. And if you go beyond the maximum rank allowed for the division, that's fine. We're not going to make you be pulled out of the season, but the start of the next season, so in this case it would be summer, we would reevaluate you and put you in the correct division. And we're hoping that because we're pulling your ranks from last season, it will be as accurate as possible, and that we won't have these huge disparities, and that teams will be placed where they're supposed to be in the beginning, if that makes sense. All right. So, if you have any other questions, please refer to the rule book that goes more in depth and probably is less stuttery, and the mic didn't cut out at various points. So you can double check, with the rule book if you have any more questions. But most important, like I mentioned before, is that this is supposed to be a fun league, and we don't tolerate, unsportsmanlike conduct. We have penalties ranging from forfeits to removal from the league, so just, don't do it to start with. We want you guys all to have an amazing experience with us, and so I'm going to do my best to make sure that that's the case. And if you have any disputes, please reach out in the help channel in our Discord, as I said. And I think that's it. Hopefully we made it this far. Hopefully my mic is still connected. We're done now. So are there any questions? I know that there's been people asking questions throughout the channel. I don't know that I'll be able to catch all of them. So if you have something off the top of your head that you have a question about right now, post it in there and I will try to address as many as possible. Okay, so one of our players had their account suspended due to some RP issues and may not get it resolved until the first game. So is it okay if they use a different account for the first week, or will they be ineligible? So the way that we have handled these types of situations in the past, as long as you are giving me the information, who they're playing, or what account they're playing, and what their old account was. So basically I need to know the Smurf account or the sub account that they're going to be using, and then their original account. We'll evaluate that. In cases of being suspended for things like toxicity or anything like that, we want to see the transcripts of what happened, and we'll evaluate it that way. But it sounds like this might just be, I guess I don't exactly know the specifics of this, but as long as you give me the information, we'll try to evaluate that account and make sure that they'll be able to play. Hopefully that answers your question. If we talked to you previously about playing in a lower division, will we be allowed to go to that lower division due to the change? Yes. So in some of the cases where, we were trying to sort out teams before these changes went through, we're definitely going to be, as long as you're in discussion with me and we have had, contact, you should be fine. There should be no issue there. We're not trying to be like sly. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. We just want to make sure that if a team needs to be playing in a certain time in certain division, that they have that 15% buffer because it was our fault. Does that make sense? Again, hopefully that answered your question. Is the new site going to be just a large update to the current site, or will we have to join the new site with our team? No, everything, as long as everything is properly taken care of by our tech team, who have been awesome, no complaints, everything should merge just fine. It will just be a large update on the current site. Everything should be transferred over fine. It should just mostly be better user, capabilities and things like that. Haven't been able to find out about the point value of each player is calculated. Is there a visual or formula for that somewhere? Yes, so if you go to the announcements channel in our Discord, I released a document that has the information on kind of how we develop the point system, how we evaluate each team, and also gives the visual rundown. There's also a link to a calculator in there, so you can kind of play around with yourself and see, how it works. So that should be pinned, I believe, in the announcements channel, so you should be able to find it there. And if you don't have the link to the Discord, which I hope you do, because you somehow managed to get here, but if for some reason you don't, let me know and I can definitely get that to you. Do all players we have on the roster... Okay, hang on. Do all players we have on the roster, if we are a university, need to come from said university? Okay. I understand. No, so GG Leagues actually does not have a hard ruling on being a collegiate team. So we actually have a couple of high school teams that play us. We have a couple of teams that come just from... I'm so sad about this mic situation, guys. I was in a meeting earlier today and it was totally fine, and as soon as I have to come talk to you guys, it decides not to work. Unfortunate. Okay, so like I was trying to say, you do really hate to see it. Like I was trying to say, long story short, no, you do not all need to come from the same university or even be a student. The biggest issue you might have is if you're trying to get like school funding, they might need you all to be from the same university, but when it comes to GG Leagues, no, you do not. There's a formula in the Discord that takes you to school. Oh, okay, that was a reply, I think. How many teams is the minimum for the league? If we only have 3 or 4 teams in a division, will we have to play them multiple times throughout the 10 weeks? So, no, I do like you guys, I promise. I do. No, so when it comes to the leagues, we always try to run them with at least 4 teams. That just kind of ensures the best player experience in terms of like the minimum amount of teams. If there's less than that, so what we've been doing this season is we're going to be folding some of our states in that maybe haven't been able to procure as many teams. We're hoping that in the future, in the next season, we'll get a little bit more footing in some of these states and be able to offer statewide for all of our current states, but unfortunately that's not the issue. So we're actually going to be merging some of our states together. Off the top of my head, I don't have that information currently. I will look for it while I'm answering other questions and get back to you. But long story short, we will be merging some together to hopefully eliminate you having to play the same team, 2 or 3 times. Also, flip side of Chew's question, not Chewy. If we got a giant division like IL Division C, what's the schedule going to look like? So we did try something last season with our Illinois Division B, where we split it into 2, like a north and south. So we had Northern Illinois teams in one and Southern Illinois teams in another. And from what we heard feedback-wise, it seemed like our teams did not like the smaller grouping. because I believe it was 6 and 6. It might have been 5 and 5, but that's not important. The point is, they would have liked to play more different variety of teams, and so I believe what we decided is that if a division is more than 16 teams, we're going to cut it in half, but if not, we're just going to leave it the way that it is. So you may end up going to the finals only playing a team once, or maybe never playing a team before, but from the feedback that we got, it seems like that was preferred over the alternative of smaller divisions. If you sub a lower ranked player in for a higher ranked player in a best of 3, the higher ranked player is more than 2 divisions higher. Could you sub the higher ranked player back in for game 3? Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. I don't believe that we actually came up to an agreement on how we wanted to handle the best of 3 situations for subs. I'm inclined to say that that would be fine. We have done it in the past, in our very first season, actually. Personal anecdote time. I was from DePaul University, and I played in GG League's first season, and I was subbed in game 2. I was, in this case, the lower-ranked player, but we had a higher-ranked player, and we subbed me in for the second game, and then had that higher-ranked player come back, and it was totally fine, totally within the rules, and I believe that is how we will be operating in the future. As long as you're not going, low player, high player, and then a higher player. Let me reverse. As long as you are not substituting the high player for a higher player that's outside of your division or outside of your the 2-tier higher list, then you should be fine. And let's see here. I was trying to bring up the information about what league we're merging into what. If you have any more questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I know that I missed a lot of them, so hopefully I can get to all of them. Okay, updated information here. Our Missouri leagues will be folded into Iowa. Our Wisconsin leagues will be folded into Illinois. Our Indiana leagues will be folded into Michigan. And our Oklahoma leagues will be folded into Texas. Ohio is going to have its own league, hopefully, with some recent accusations of we're going to be partnering with NCE, and so hopefully they'll be able to do their own league there. And like I said, we do hope that Missouri, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Oklahoma can eventually field their own divisions, but unfortunately timing just wasn't quite right, and so hopefully in the future we can yeehaw Oklahoma. Hopefully in the future you guys will have your own leagues. Iowa and Missouri Division A only still has 3 teams. That's something that we will probably have to evaluate. Like I said, we're still kind of in the process of checking each team, and so there may be more teams from Division B who are too high over the limit and will be pushed into Division A. If it becomes an issue, we'll definitely address that with the captains and kind of discuss how to go forward there. Okay, looks like that's just a question in the chat. Are there any more questions from you guys? Want to make sure that I was as clear as possible. I'm not sure exactly what. How does ProDraft work? So we're gonna be releasing a We're gonna be releasing a tutorial video that explains how ProDraft works. But in short, it's basically just a browser-based drafting tool that you guys can use to simulate normal drafting, but you don't have the restriction of not owning champions. So you can pick, any champion in any order as long as you own them and draft it in that way. It will not unlock all of the champions for you to use, so you have to keep in mind when you're picking that, if you don't own Darius, don't pick Darius in Pro Draft. It's just a way for you to be drafting without the constraints of, like, you know, maybe you have your support in the first position and you want to pick for your top laner because you're trying to secure that role, and maybe they don't have Darius. It's to kind of avoid those types of situations. So you still have to pick within the champions that you own. It just avoids not having it in picking order. That was probably a terrible way to explain it. Griffin did a great job if you watch his video. Like I said, we'll be posting that in Discord, and you can watch that. And if you have questions afterwards, totally feel free to send us a message. So 2 questions. Rule 2.21 talks about the best of 3 games at an in-person event. If a team has to forfeit game 1 due to not enough players, then they can sub them in with the attendee of same or lower rank. That is true. You're allowed to pick anyone from the in-person event to sub in for you, but that doesn't pertain to, I believe, the question that was being asked earlier. That's mostly an issue where, like, you brought multiple players from your team and you're trying to, you know, you have your higher ranked player and then maybe you lose the first game and you want to kind of re-strategize, and your, you know, lower support is really good at tanks and you need a tank for your team, so you bring in, you know, the lower support. You're allowed to do that as long as you give your opponent ample time to scout and make sure that they are aware of the change. So when will you get information about the in-person finals? So we're finalizing dates currently. We have information about Illinois and Michigan currently. I believe the dev blog talked about those already. But in terms of the specifics about the events, like when to go, when to show up, where to show up, that's a big one, and information about that will be released kind of as the season goes along. My headset turned off again. Hopefully you didn't lose anything there. It's totally charged, so again, no idea what the issue is, but sorry about that. If you missed it, that we'll be updating information as we get it. Let's see. What happens if someone chooses the wrong champion in either Pro Draft or regular? Yeah, so the way that we will typically go about it is that you alert the team that you're playing against, either in you know, Discord, or if you have them on your friends list, you can message them there. Discord's usually the easiest one, but that's how we handle that. The Pro Draft video kind of outlines those issues of accidentally picking the wrong champion. And Rule 3.3 says teams that can't field enough players from the finals may be disqualified, and the 3rd or 4th place team may play in the finals instead. Why did this rule come about? Let's see. It says that field enough players in the finals must be disqualified, and 3rd or 4th place teams may play. So this comes down to the issue of if you just... Alright, I'll give another personal example. One of the seasons that I played with DePaul, or I played on a second DePaul team, they slept through the first part of the finals, and had they not shown up, we would have given them, we would have given a chance to another team. As for why the rule came about, I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't part of creating that rule. It probably was created before I worked for GG Leagues, but it's mostly the case that if we know ahead of time, we want to give other teams a chance to be able to play in the finals, if that makes sense. Next team has even shorter pick time. Sorry, I said a little soon. Hi, Upsurge. Hi, Upsurge. Let's see, just to be clear, I'm not saying Pro Draft should be disallowed. Right, the timer. So that the video actually outlines issues with, like, if it auto picks, if it doesn't pick, if the timer runs out, because one of the issues, kind of what you're saying with Pro Draft, is that when you're drafting in client and the timer hits 0, you usually have like another second or two to pick. But in Pro Draft, that's not how it works. So the rules for that are all outlined in the video. Essentially, it goes over each situation of what can happen when, like I said, if the timer runs out and you haven't selected a champion, if the timer runs out and you're not hovering a champion, etc. The rulebook and the Pro Draft video cover both of those issues. So, any other questions? Hopefully I have amply and adequately, maybe that's the word I was looking for, answered all of your questions. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but I do want to make sure that everyone who had a question kind of gets that answered. What if someone has the wrong runes due to client bugging out? That's a good question. I don't know that that's... I know we encountered an issue like that last season, and I think the way that we handled it then was that we were notified right when it happened. So when they got into game, the team paused and they were able to restart the lobby and restart the draft. As long as you haven't like played out part of the game, first blood happened and then you're like, oh shoot, I don't have the right runes, I'm gonna go report it. Basically, just report it as soon as the issue happens and then we can handle it. Probably in a restart. Same picks, same bans, just with the right runes this time. I'm not sure how often that happens, but I know that League's client can be buggy, to say the least. So I don't doubt that it happens pretty frequently. All right. I don't see any more questions coming in, so we're gonna call it here. And if you have any more questions, feel free to message us in the help channel or message me directly. Either way. And I believe that's everything. So like I said, any questions, feel free to message. And thank you all for coming out. Hi, Tyler. Thank you all for coming out. And, good luck. Have fun this season. Send you off with a little bit of a smoochy Tarek. And good night, guys.